They Live by Night from 1948 was a crime, romantic drama starring Farley, Granger, and Cathy O'Donnell. It was great to catch these two again after having seen them both before in the film Side Street. I love that title as well. They Live by Night. It almost sounds like a zombie film, but it's not. It was actually a very enjoyable film with elements of crime heist films, with a young couple on the run, some romance, and even some quirky humor along the way. And hey, what a great movie poster. We're in a jam. I love the 1940s. Well, this is a great film. Thanks to Florida Greg for the recommendation. I'll recap the film and then offer some closing thoughts. Well, the film opens up and we have Farley Granger as the character Bowie, a guy on the run with some hoodlums. Their car has a tire blowout, so they leave on foot, but since Bowie apparently has an injured foot, the guys leave him by this billboard sign and go to retrieve some loot and then come back to get him. Well, it's much later when a car arrives, but it's driven by the character Cathy, who's played by lovely actress Cathy O'Donnell. She brings him back to the hideout where the bad guys are. So the bad guy characters are Will Wright as Mobley. He's sort of this grisly old grandpa character. You have Howard Da Silva as Chickamauga. He's this guy with this creepy dead eye, and it kind of really lends to the eeriness of the character. He's kind of this grizzled alcoholic character. And J.C. Flippin as T-Dub. T-Dub. His character's name sounds like a 90s era hip-hop artist. Are you ready to get your groove on? Yes. Well, anyhow, Jay Flippin has been in numerous old films and westerns, but notably he was in Stanley Kubrick's film The Killing that I reviewed a few months ago. He's a great actor. Anyhow, this is the gang of hoodlums and ne'er-do-wells, and they start planning out their next heist together. Now, Kichi seems to have a fondness for Bowie, and he goes sneaking around to talk to her alone. They share a smoke, and they talk, but not too much between them just yet. So a little later, Mobley returns, somewhat drunk, and partially crashes his car, and with him is actress Helen Craig as Maddie, a character who seems to have a dislike for Bowie for some reason. The guys head off to their next heist, with Bowie agreeing to stay in the car. By the way, I love that Indiana Jones-style map sequence. That's pretty cool. Bowie heads to a diner and then to a jeweler, and hey, it's actor Will Lee. It's Mr. Hooper from Sesame Street. Wow. Anyhow, Bowie sees a watch that he wants to get as a gift for Kichi. Aw. So the heist was a success, and they head off. Now, right away, they have plans for more robberies. And while they are at another heist, the same jeweler guy from before comes up to chat with Bowie, and he just pushes poor Mr. Hooper away. The other guys rush out with their loot, and they flee. They find a place to stop, they divide up the money, and they burn their getaway car. So again, they seem to be having a successful run of robberies. For now. Chickamauga and Bowie get new cars, and they're driving along at night, having a great time when, boom, they're in a crash. Now, Chickamauga's there to give Bowie a ride back. He's not doing well. And before they can leave, a cop is suspicious. He's asking a bunch of questions, but he gets shot, and the two of them flee. So Chickamauga brings Bowie back to recover at the house with Kichi, and it's here that she sort of lets her hair down and brushes it. Perhaps she's interested in him. She goes to take care of him and, rub some lotion on his injured back. And it's here we start to see the beginning of their relationship. At about the 30-minute mark into the film. And there's some very sweet dialogue if he asks if she has a fella and stuff like that. And he gives her the watch and tells her that he's going to be leaving town, but she shows him in the newspaper that it turns out his gun was used to shoot the cop. He didn't do it, but he's getting the blame. So he needs to lay low and be careful. But the next thing, the two of them have left town together on a bus. And Bowie helps take care of a baby for a sleepy lady that's next to him. And it's kind of a cute scene. The bus stops at the small town of Fairfield, and they get off for some coffee at a cafe. They try to lay low and avoid too much attention as they go. And they're about to leave when they abruptly get off the bus to go get married at one of those 10-minute wedding places. Well, okay. And the wedding place is run by Ian Wolfe of films like Hitchcock's Saboteur. It's kind of a weird little scene, a little quirky, but I like it.
Wish you all the health, happiness, and wealth in the world. Herman, you got a cold.
I'm sorry. I have.
They arrange for not just a wedding, but also for a car, and soon they are on their way to somewhere. And as newlyweds, they had some really sweet chemistry together as their relationship continues to grow. So, out seemingly in the middle of nowhere, out in the country, they stop to rent a cabin from the character Lambert. It's played by Byron Folger of Petticoat Junction fame. Petticoat Junction. He brings them to their own remote place to stay, and he's super friendly with them. They get in their room and they settle in. Now, Kichi seems a little disappointed. She had higher hopes for a honeymoon stay, but Bowie promises her that he'll get her whatever she wants, and then they kiss and embrace, and hey, it's the 1940s Hays Code era, so let your imagination do the rest as to what happens after the film fades to black. Anyhow, we cut over to some detectives who are questioning Mobley, and he's angry about Bowie running off with his daughter, and he goes on and on about how he'd pull the switch on Bowie himself if he had to, and so on. Great father-in-law material here. Back at the cabin, Bowie and Kichi are snuggled up by a Christmas tree. The music is all soft and romantic. Now, the film at this point is kind of toned down from the crime narrative. It's turned more into a romantic drama, which I really enjoyed. It is a very sweet story. Well, Chickamal shows up for a visit, and I'm not sure how he found out where they were, but whatever. He wants a drink, but Bowie doesn't have anything there, so Chickamal just starts scarfing down candy from a bowl while walking around and talking about how Bowie is wanted everywhere. And seriously, this guy is creepy as he kind of just walks around munching his candy. And he tries to convince Bowie to come back in for one more bank heist. Now, Bowie's reluctant, but eventually caves in, but Kichi's very frustrated about it and starts smashing some bowls. Then he gives her a kiss and then leaves, and she's just not on board with any of this. So Bowie's back with the guys, and T-Dub doesn't like that. He wants out of their organization. He gets angry, and "You're an investment," he barks as he slaps him around. Yeah, great friends here. Well, they head off, and we don't really see the heist, but it isn't long before we discover from exposition radio that they failed the bank robbery. T-Dub was killed, and Chickamal was injured. So they get into an argument, and Bowie just orders him out at gunpoint and then drives off back to his cabin. Now, when he's back home again, Bowie finds Kichi sitting up in bed. The floor is just coated with water from busted pipes. She gives us the exposition that Chickamal had died apparently while trying to rob a liquor store. And we also find out that she's pregnant. So they both just leave. And there's a lot of ups and downs with their relationship between these two, but eventually they both seem to be happy again as they head out east. Now, feeling a little bit more confident, they decide to go out in public. They get all dressed up, and they head out to a club for dinner. But Bowie is spotted by a tough gangster character who doesn't try to get him arrested or anything, but basically just says, "Hey, you need to get out of town," which he does. They have plans to get to Mexico, which is kind of the go-to hideout place for criminals in these old films. Now, on the way, Kichi has become ill, and Bowie decides to stop at the motel that's owned by Maddie. Remember her from earlier, the woman who hates him? While Bowie drives back to see the funeral home guy, who earlier had kind of dropped the hint that he can help people get to Mexico, well, Maddie secretly betrays them and makes a deal with the police that she will give up Bowie to them in exchange for her husband's release. So with not too much time left in the film, I'm going to stop the review here. I don't want to give away the ending, but will Bowie and his wife escape to Mexico? Will Kichi get better? Will the police catch up with them? Well, you need to watch the end of the film for yourself to find out. Well, some closing thoughts. They Live by Night was produced by RKO Pictures, and this was the first film directed by Nicholas Ray. He'd go on to direct films like Rebel Without a Cause. A few months ago, I reviewed In a Lonely Place that he directed with Humphrey Bogart. And I thought the direction was excellent in this film, particularly those scenes in the opening as the bad guys are driving away, as this was one of the first sequences in a film that incorporated filming from a helicopter. It's actually a pretty cool scene to watch. In thinking about it, this film seems to have a number of different genres to it. It's a crime film, but there's also elements of heist films. There's the protagonist who wants to get away from the life of crime and start a new life. And of course, there's the romantic theme, the Romeo and Juliet, couple on the run. And like many of these old noir films, there's that theme of the criminals trying to lure the hero back into the world of crime. So I loved it. It was a great mix. And a lot of times it was unpredictable. You didn't really know where the film was going or what was going to happen. And I really love that about this film. And I do enjoy the films of Farley Granger. For the longest time, all I really knew of him was his role as the nervous murderer from Hitchcock's film Rope. But I've grown to appreciate his acting in films like this one, where he's more of a conflicted hero. I also thought he had a very nice chemistry with Cathy O'Donnell's character. I thought that the romance on screen was sweet and convincing. Both also starred in the film Side Street from 1950. It's a film I reviewed a couple months ago. All right, I'm going to throw this out as just a weird idea. And in a way, and understandably with a couple changes, you can almost see the films They Live by Night as continuing with the film Side Street. And yes, I know you need to make a couple changes, but hear me out on this one. Basically, They Live by Night introduces the young couple, sees them get married, and on the run to start a new life. In the film Side Street, well, they have a life together. They're in the city, and they have a new life started. Farley Granger's character is delivering mail in that film, and Cathy O'Donnell's character is fully pregnant and about to give birth. And Side Street features Farley giving into temptation to take money one more time and the resulting consequences. And, okay, it was just a thought that maybe the two can kind of be seen together. Come on, I do stuff like this sometimes when I can't sleep at night. I'm like, you can almost see the films as one story, but okay, maybe not. I mean, come on, it's my own channel. I'll throw out silly theories like that if I want to. Howard De Silva's character, Chickamauga, was amazing in this film, and he was just completely creepy as this alcoholic bad guy character, especially with that dead eye. Seeing him walking around munching on that candy, trying to lure Bowie back into one more heist, was just a great scene. He was just creepy. Now, also, watching this, there was a character of Maddie who was played by Helen Craig. Do you ever have a situation where you see an actress or an actor? You feel like you've seen them in something before because they look so familiar. But I looked over her films on the Internet Movie Database, and I just don't get it. I don't think I've seen her in anything previously, but she looks so familiar. In a way, I guess she resembles maybe Karen Allen from Raiders of the Lost Ark, but that's kind of a stretch. I don't think that's it. Do any of my three fans know why she looks so familiar? And a final thought, and then I'll close out the review. Apparently, Robert Mitchum lobbied for the role of Chickamauga, but he never got it. He told the director, Nicholas Ray, that he was very familiar with playing bank robbers and bad guy characters, but because at that time he was kind of an up and rising star, they didn't want to just cast him in a supporting role. That would have been pretty cool, though. Anyhow, that's They Live by Night from 1948. I thought this was an enjoyable film with crime, drama, some romance, a couple on the run. It's an excellent film, and it's one worth checking out.